Hello, everybody. We're, of course, going to just getting started here. We're going to wait a few minutes, give people a chance to get in here. As you can tell, we got a bit of a brighter background because, of course, we just went through daylight savings time, which means, of course, I don't have to have my room light on at the beginning of the stream here. Now, we might end up having to turn it on toward the end if we go long enough, depending upon that. But um, get along, gang, get along, gang. Each one's so special in their own way. Coming apart and then get along, gang, get along, gang. Get up with the get along, gang. When you know it's okay. Get up with a get along, gang. Oh, get up with the get along, gang. When you know it's okay. Get up with a get along, yeah. Hey, oh, get up. Stray. When you think about there's nothing to lose. When you stray. I'm gonna live my life without you. Until we're gone stray. Stray, yeah. Okay. Hello, is it me you're looking for? Well, hello. We have a second person here. As I said, we're just waiting for some people to show up. If you would like to help get some more people, if you could like and share the stream, that'd be appreciated. See if we can get some more friendly people in here. Of course, just as I said, just waiting to see if we can get some more people in here before I get started. We do have a bit of a packed. I do hope you had a good weekend and are having a good start to your week. Yeah, so I just visited prior to starting up here. I just visited Dark Gifts open mic night, just say hi, and of course he has a very interesting thing for his guests. He wants them to sing, so I obliged him, and I was happy to do so. I think people were amazed at my selection for when we went into rotation. That I actually had all that memorized. So as I said, I hope you're doing well thus far. Just as I said, just waiting for some more people to get in before we get started. I will, of course, be letting you know what we'll be talking about tonight. In a few minutes here. Just giving people a chance to get in here. Yeah, so and of course, always as we're talking about news stories or covering, or going through articles or whatever, if you have, if you have anything you'd like to contribute to the conversation, add to the conversation, or anything you'd like to ask in regards to what we're talking about, feel free to do so. And if I can answer the question, I will do my best to do so. Let's see. Coming up on. And I got a. All right, so let's see. We're at coming up on 4.5 minutes now. Guess I'll try to. I guess maybe I'll get started a little early here if we get to the 5 minute mark and still have two people here. Let's see. So let's see now. Let's see now. 4:45. And of course, also don't forget this Friday, Backgoat, my co-host, he and I will be going through, be taking another trip down Comics History Lane as we look back to November 1938. We'll look over some comics that went on sale from Centaur Comics as well as Fiction House. Anyways, we're just past the 5 minute mark, and I guess I'll go ahead and at least talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, I'm actually going to be starting out with wrestling news tonight because there was kind of a major story that came out over the last couple of days. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Scott Hall and his current situation. Be doing, just after I talk about the Scott Hall story, we'll be, of course, going over, just some roundups, some stuff going on, WWE, AEW, Impact, and of course NWA. Also, I do have a couple actually 3 comic stories to go over tonight. As among those include, let's see. So Bass Reeves, West of Hell is getting a collector's edition. Of course, that's from Underworld creator Kevin Graveau and artist David Williams. There's a little bit of a spat going on between DC Comics writer Andrew Reeler and J.K. Rowling, and then there's a rumor that Marvel Comics Vice President Sana Amanat has been fired, and I do know that Ethan right now is doing a live stream on that as well. And of course, the person went away from me. So it would appear that I'm the only one here at the moment. Let's see. 7:03. Well, we kind of already went through. Let's see. Guess I'll wait a few minutes and see if anybody else shows up. Let's see something here. Let's see now. Just checking some stuff real quick here. All right, so there we go with that. So just kind of trying to see who else might show up here. Let's see. 8 minutes. Walking through a town in a faceless crowd. Need to feel the touch of a friend. In the countryside, I wander far and wide. The isolation gets me again. I don't know where to go when I feel like crying. Oh my, it's time to open myself. Do something new, I want to stop and grow up a bit. Then suddenly my intuition and my wisdom grow. And then I know that most of all, help compassionately. Strangers wherever we go. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. Find adventure that's beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears. Muppet babies. Muppet, 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 Muppet. Babies, 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 babies. I got goo. Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Come on, Scooby Doo, I see you, pretending you got a sliver. And you're not fooling me, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shiver. You know you got a mystery to solve, so Scooby-Doo, be ready for your act. Don't hold back. And Scooby-Doo, you're gonna have yourself a Scooby snack. That's a fact. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? You're ready and you're willing, and we can count on you, be Scooby-Doo. We know you'll catch that villain. All right, well, anyways, we're just past the 10-minute mark, so I think it's a good time to get started on what we're going to talk about. So, right now, I'm going to go, as I said, go into more of the wrestling. And the top story right now is Scott Hall. Some tragic piece of news there in which so just as kind of a recent background here, last week Scott Hall took a fall at his home and ended up breaking his hip and was hospitalized to go in for hip surgery to repair the damage. And I guess sometime while he was recovering, a blood clot got loose, and he had over the weekend here he had 3 heart attacks to the point to where they decided to put him on life support yesterday, and then it was revealed this morning via Kevin Nash's Kevin Nash's Instagram that he, as soon as his family was able to get there, he would be taken off of life support. As of right now, as of to my knowledge, as of this second, as of to my knowledge, 6:11 p.m. Pacific. Um, Scott has been taken off of life support. Apparently, he's hanging on. He, as of yet, he has not passed away. He actually, from what I've seen, at least from what I when WrestleMania was reporting on it earlier, apparently he's showing signs that he may be coming back. So now, if and when he should pass on, I will of course do a follow up on it on the story. That should happen, but as of right now, it would seem he's been taken off life support, and from for all intents and purposes may be recovering. Miracles do happen, and I hope we should all hope and for send our hopes and prayers out to him and his family, and that God will do whatever God feels is the right thing to do. You know, um, for those of you who don't know who Scott Hall is, let me give you a little bit of a. Of course, he's a professional wrestler, probably most well known for his times in the WWE and WCW. His career started back in the late 80s, or no, I'm sorry, the mid 80s. Let's see, gotta. He of course started out in the Florida territory of the NWA, where he was teamed with Dan Spivey as a um, Starship Express, I believe. Oh, okay. Just trying to see if I can find who actually trained him. That would probably help things a little bit here. But Scott Hall, of course, was from the Florida area. Let's see. I'm trying to see. He's a two-time WWE Hall of Famer. So let's see. Okay, it doesn't say who actually trained him here, but Hall began his career in 1984 in Championship Wrestling Florida. Soon began a feud with Dusty Rhodes while wrestling as part of the National Wrestling Alliance in 1985. Hall formed a tag team, Dan Spivey, the American Starship, and they were known as Starship Coyote and Eagle, respectively. Um, then, and of course, in 1985, Hall would make his way to the AWA, American Wrestling Association, up in Minnesota, where where he would spend the next 4 years of his career. Um, and the next 4 years of his career. in which during that time, I believe it was sometime in 1986, he teamed up with Kurt Hennig to win the AWA World Tag Team Championships. Then he would come back for a brief stint in '89 to the NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions. Then in '91, he would let's see, he would also go into he would also wrestle for after '89. He would find himself in Puerto Rico wrestling for World Wrestling Council. Then '91, '92, his second stint in the NWA, in which he would, of course, take on the role as the Diamond Stud as part of Diamond Dallas's Page Diamond Mine, 91 to 92. And towards the end of 92, he would move on to the WWF, become Razor Ramon, where he would, of course, the big claim to fame there was he became a four-time Intercontinental Championship. Of course, of his most memorable matches include the ladder match he had with Shawn Michaels over the IC belt. Then in '96, he would move on with Kevin Nash from the WWF to WCW. They would go in as the Outsiders, which would lead into probably one of the most all-time well-known factions of all time for what they did to the wrestling business in the late '90s. There, the NWO. Then when WCW closed its doors, he would go on to some other indie work. He would from 2002 to 2005, he would go over and work in TNA for a bit, then come back to the WWF, to reform go with the NWO angle. Then the latter part of the 2000s would go back to TNA for a while, come back to WWE in 2014, when he was, of course, where he was inducted into the Hall of Fame as a singles wrestler. From there, he would kind of go back and forth and would show up in 2000. Now everybody knows Scott's legal and medical history too. He had some drug issues, had some legal issues over the years. The past few years, he'd been hanging out a lot with Diamond Dallas Page. He'd been helping him to get sober and has seemingly lived a pretty good life. It's just that fall he took last week and all that. So, but anyway, so that's, and then of course, Scott was once again voted in the Hall of Fame in 2020 as part of the NWO. So that's the extent of what we know about the two-time WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall. Now, as of right now, as far as I know, he's off life support. He's recovering, but he's had again kind of a tough week here. Last week he fell in his home, broke his hip, and then went to have surgery in the hospital. And during his recovery, of course, a blood clot got loose and caused him to have 3 heart attacks, to where they needed to put him on life support yesterday. And this morning it was reported via Kevin Nash's Instagram that Scott, as soon as the family got to the hospital, the entire family, that he would be taken off life support. He has since been taken off life support. At last report, I heard he seems to be doing well. He seems to be responding, or maybe getting better. But again, we'll have to wait and see. We'll see what happens. Prayers and well wishes go out to him and his family. If the Lord has decided to take him home, all the power to him. If he's got more work to do here on earth, more power to him. Either way. So that's basically the long and the short of what's going on with Scott Hall right now. Now, on to some other, of course, wrestling news. Another another story, another health issue story that come out over the weekend. Current WWE wrestler Big E um, took a botched belly to belly suplex that ended up having him with a broken neck. He has fractures in the C1 and C6 vertebrae. They're fractured, but they're not displaced. So that's at least some good news. You just keep his no surgery is apparently required, but his neck's just got to for Big E fans. I'm sure you've seen his video that he's posted up. I think on his Twitter and Instagram and stuff. Where he still stayed pretty positive, even though it's a pretty hard injury to take, a broken neck like that. But well wishes and wishing a speedy recovery to Big E from that injury. Obviously, right now, there is some talk that about his wrestling, about his future in business, as of course, some experts say that you don't really heal back from a neck injury like that too quickly. So, yeah. So with that, but he's still stayed pretty positive. Um, some are saying he might not come back because of that neck injury. Depending on how it heals. Neck injuries can always are kind of tricky there. So again, um, prayers and well wishes to him as well. Also, some other news coming out of the WWE, as it was announced this past week that Charmel, um, Charmel Sullivan, who is of course Booker T's wife, Charmel Sullivan Huffman, will be inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. So that's somewhat of a controversial. Some people have said it's somewhat of a controversial one because Grant, as his real life wife, she served as his valet. She came into the business as a member of the Nitro Girls in WCW, and had served as Booker T's valet throughout much of the latter part of his career. So Charmel will be going into the Hall of Fame along with right now the Undertaker and Vader. Vader, of course, being brought in posthumously. There's also been some talk that WWE would like to put the Steiner brothers into the Hall of Fame, but they're not sure if they can. Maybe they might put Rick in because the thing is, Scott's had a pretty rocky history with the WWE. He's at they've talked about having Scott inducted as well, but Scott has declined on several occasions. Now with Rick's son Braun Breaker, as part of the NXT brand, they're looking to possibly try to bring both Steiner brothers in and bring them in the Hall of Fame. And then I think there was one other. Oh yeah, there's also talk that they might be putting the late Chad Gaspard in the Hall of Fame. As you guys know, the former WWE star who basically saved his son at the sacrifice of his own life about 2 years ago, back in 2020. So they might induct him in as as the warrior recipient, as it were. Um, so that's at least the latest in the WWE news. For All Elite Wrestling (AEW), this Wednesday night, 2 nights from now. Excuse me a moment. I'm sorry. I think I got a call coming. Be right back. All right. Well, before I was interrupted by that phone call, which turned out to be a scam likely. um, yeah, so in AEW, one of the big stories going on this Wednesday in his first title defense since winning it on last week's Dynamite. On this week's episode of Dynamite, Scorpio Sky will be defending the TNT Championship, which he won from Sammy Guevara. Guevara. Scorpio Sky will be defending against Wardlow, who won the right to challenge for the TNT title by winning the Ring of the Revolution match at Revolution, or Face of the Revolution match at Revolution, defeating five other wrestlers to get getting that ring. And after that, of course, severing his ties with MJF. So that's one of the big stories coming out of it. That now the rumor is that Wardlow will likely win the title because finally give him a major push, but that's only a rumor. We'll see how things pan out. Also, let's see what other news can we talk about from the wrestling side of things. Let's see now. All right. Anything else major going on in AEW that I can think of? Probably not. Okay, so moving on from AEW to Impact, the Honor No More situation continuing to flare up as on last week's Impact edition of Impact, Josh Alexander was looking ready to fight off the entire group until Team Impact, led by Rhino Heath, you had Rhino Heath, Rich Swann, and Willie Mack. Willie Mack come out to save him from basically a 6-on-1 beat down. Let me see. At that point, Scott D'Amore came out and basically banned everybody from ringside for the rest of the night. You saw on there that beginning of the show, Willie Mack took on Kenny King, defeated him, and then in the main event, Eddie Edwards took on Rich Swann as Eddie Edwards won that match. One of the things that was set up for Impact's Rebellion pay-per-view on April 23rd, Josh Alexander will get a shot at Moose for the Impact World title. So that will be going on. And in NWA news this weekend, the 19th and 20th, Saturday the 19th and Sunday the 20th, from the Nashville Fairgrounds, there will be the Crockett Cup will be going on. So you'll have the event, you'll have the Crockett Cup tournament, which is a tag team tournament comprised basically of 19 teams. Now, granted, one team has already advanced to the second round. The Fixers have, Jay Bradley and Wrecking Ball have already advanced to the second round. You have 4 teams that will be participating in the play-in round for the 16th seed in the tournament. Those being 4-time former NWA World Tag Team Champions Heat Seekers, Island Says Forever, the Bad News Boys, and Rip City Shooters. Those 4 teams will be going into a fatal 4-way to participate in the main tournament. Among some of the other teams participating in the tournament include include the current NWA World Tag Team Champions, La Rebellion, the Briscoe brothers, Jay and Mark Briscoe, not to be confused with Jack and Jerry Briscoe. You have Doug Williams and Harry Smith who will be participating in the tournament. You have Chris Adonis and Tom Latimer participating in it, representing Strictly Business, representing the Cardona family, Mike Knox and BSK. You have the Pope, Elijah Burke, and Mims, among many of the teams. The former ROH tag team of OGK, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven also, were also but they got eliminated from the tournament already. They were participating in it. So that's from the Crockett Cup tournament. It was also announced this last weekend that David Crockett, former NWA announcer, Mid-Atlantic area announcer and executive, will be in attendance at the event. Now, aside from the tournament, they've got a lot of other major matches going on, including in the main event of the 2-night card. You have for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, champion Matt Cardona, who most of you would probably remember as Zack Ryder in the WWE. Okay. The Zack Ryder, he recently won. He about a month ago won the title from a little over a month, more like a month and a half ago. Won the title from Trevor Murdoch. Excuse me a moment. Chloe's barking. So I got to go deal with her. I'll be right back. Maybe what I should do here is Alright, so anyways, getting back to this here. Okay, so talking about the Crockett Cup coming up this Saturday. Aside from the tournament, of course, as I just mentioned, in the main event, we'll see Matt Cardona defending the NWA World title against Nick Aldous. Nick Aldous was originally going to participate in the tournament, the tag tournament, with his British Invasion tag partner Doug Williams, but then after Cardona basically won the title from Murdoch and decided decided that he was going to try to save the NWA, Nick Aldis decided to call in his rematch clause to go out. Aldis, of course, already a two-time NWA world champion. So among the other matches going on there in the World Women's Championship, Camille will. One more. I'm sorry. One more little tidbit about the World Heavyweight title, as Jeff Jarrett will be the special guest. Former NWA World Champion Jeff Jarrett will be the special guest referee for that. Jeff Jarrett will be the special guest referee for the NWA World Title match between champion Cardona and challenger Aldis. Also, for the World Women's title, the three-way dance involving current NWA World Women's Champion Camille defending her title against Smiley, Kylie Ray, and Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green was added to this match more recently as Matt Cardona, playing politics, basically used his authority to get Chelsea put into the match. Let's see, for the World Television title, Tyrus, who some of you might remember as Brodus Clay in the WWE or in or in Impact, or if you've seen him on the Greg Gutfeld show on Fox News at all, Tyrus will be defending the World Television Championship against Rodney Mack. Of course, in his corner is manager Austin Idol, and Tyrus is representing the faction Idol Sports Management, Idol Mania Sports Management. Also, for the National Heavyweight Championship, Anthony Merriweather, one of his first title defenses is going to be against former NWA World Heavyweight and National Champion Jack Dane. Jack Dane will seek to get the national title again. This time from Anthony Mayweather, who also has wrestled as Crimson before. He has also he recently won the title from Chris Adonis, aka Chris Masters. Let's see, and then also in a fatal four-way, as I recall, Austin Aries, Homicide, Kobe Carino, and then there's one other guy who will be competing for basically a crowning of a new NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship, a title that was vacated during the transition of ownership back in 2017, now being crowned once again. So that's all that's going on in the NWA. So with that all being said, that's all the wrestling news we have right now. So we'll move on to talking about aside from that, we of course had three comic stories to go through. We'll be going through that. Huh. All right, so here we go. All right, so here's the first of the comic artists. Underworld creator Kevin Graveau and artist David Williams, Bass Reeves, West of Hell to get collected edition. So this is a book that these two guys are working on. Article by John F. Trent, published back on March 10th, which is last Thursday. So here we go. Here's this article. Allegiance Arts announced they will be launching a crowdfunding campaign to collect Underworld creator Kevin Graveau, artist David Williams, and colorist Gabe Eltabe's Bass Reeves, West of Hell. The collected edition collects all 6 issues of Graveau and Williams' Bass Reeves series. The official description for the series states, quote, in a life torn between family and duty, legendary U.S. Marshal Bass Reeves faces hell on the frontier in an action-packed adventure as great as a lawman himself, unquote. Quote, set against the backdrop of the lawless post-Civil War era, Marshal Reeves is the only lawman who stands between civilization and chaos, unquote, the description concludes. I guess that's what Bass Reeves looks like right there. If you're unfamiliar with Bass Reeves, he was a real man who was born into slavery in 1838 in Crawford County, Arkansas. He was a slave under a man named William Reeves and his son George Reeves. Now, of course, I don't believe that's to be confused with the actor George Reeves. Probably somebody else altogether. During the Civil War, he escaped bondage, although it's unclear what the circumstances were. Legends of America claims, quote, some say because Bass beat up George after a dispute in a card game. Others believe that Bass heard too much about the quote in the smaller quote freeing of slaves and ran away, unquote. And after escaping bondage, he fled to Oklahoma and began mingling with the Seminole Creek and Cherokee Indians. They're learning their customs, language, and more. There's, I guess, the real life picture of him right there. Reeves would eventually leave the Native Americans and return to Arkansas, where he bought land near Van Buren and began to ply his trade as a farmer and rancher. While there, he married Nellie Jenny, and the two had 10 children. He was eventually recruited to become a U.S. Marshal by U.S. Marshal James F. Fagan and began patrolling around 75,000 square miles in Oklahoma. Let's see. Hey, Mr. Yanafui. How you doing, man? Is that Micah Company? I don't know what. Is that Micah Company that is doing that? Doing what? I don't even know what you're getting at there, Mr. Yanafui. If you can, is that Mitch Company that is doing that? Um, don't know. If you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Anyways, as I'll continue the article here. During his excuse me a moment, because it does look like we're getting a little dim here, so I should probably go ahead and turn on my light here. All right, I'm back. No problem. All right, so let's see now. Okay. Anyways, continuing on with the article here. During his time as a U.S. Marshal, Reeves tracked down numerous outlaws, including Tom Story, the Seminole outlaw Greenleaf, and Bob Dozier. He would also bring in his own son for murder. It is reported that he brought in more than 3,000 outlaws, killing some 14 men during service. Another picture of him right there. The crowdfunding campaign has not officially launched, but Allegiance Arts has launched an Indiegogo sign up page. Um, the sign up page will allow potential backers to receive, quote, a limited edition David Williams All Star Collector's Card, complete with terrific art and stats of his legendary career, unquote. Card will specifically be available to backers, quote, who sign up before the launch date, unquote. There he is right there, yes. Do you plan on backing Fast Reads West of Hill? I look like we're, Allegiant Art, yeah, it is from Mitch, Brett, Budweiser. He is Comic Skate. Yeah, yeah. As I understand it, the people who are actually involved in this particular, what they said earlier in the article, Mister Yanafui, was Kevin Graveau, David Williams, and Gabe Elteeb. Sorry, Mitch, Brett. Yeah, but it's not Brett. It's not Brett. Okay, Brett Mitchweiser may be a part of Allegiance Arts, but he's not the one who's actually doing this book. The actual the actual people who are involved in this book are Kevin Graveau, David Williams, and Gabe Elteeb. Those are the guys who are actually involved with this book. Yeah, I'll even go back up to show you. See, there it is right there. Underworld creator Kevin Graveau and artist David Williams. I know as I was reading the article, they acknowledged that colorist Gabe Elteeb was also involved in that. So, and of course, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated, my friend. Um, uh, yeah, as we will now get ready to move on to the next article. The article we'll talk about here. And I guess another thing that's been going on. No, I was talking the owner of Mitch's. Okay, well, all right. Well, thanks for the clarification on that. There, Mr. Yanafui. Basically, I had a feeling it was Comics Gate because when I saw Gabe Eltib's name as colorist for it. So, anyways, here's the next article we're going to look at. DC Comics writer Andrew Wheeler claims Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling is, quote, playing with my personal safety for rhetorical clout. Article by John F. Trent, published earlier today, it looks like. So here we go. Here we go. DC Comics writer and former editor-in-chief of Comics Alliance, Andrew Wheeler, known for pitching Justice League Queer, recently claimed that Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling is, quote, playing with my personal safety for rhetorical clout. I guess we'll have to wait and see how this ends out here. While the editor-in-chief at Comics Alliance, Wheeler made clear his goals were to radically alter the comic book world. He wrote, quote, we need to get from some to enough, and really we'll know we've achieved success when Captain America can have a boyfriend and Wonder Woman can have a girlfriend. For queer representation in superhero comics, that's what success looks like. Why not just create your own character? I know we've harped on this point before, but why not just create your own characters? Why do you keep trying to take established characters and try to make them queer just to fit an agenda? Of course, I can tell you why. It's because it's a lot easier to make it more acceptable if if you have an identity you already know, or you have a marketing brand that you already know who's pushing it. That's why they don't do this with newer characters. They try to use established brands and characters to do it. Anyways, because I said Mitch's company. All right. Well, anyways, moving on to the next article or next part of this. Wheeler's claim regarding Rowling came after he accused her of, quote, empowering far right forces, unquote. On March 12th, Rowling took to Twitter where she wrote, quote, I don't think our politicians have the slightest idea of how much anger is building among women from all walks of life at the attempts to threaten and intimidate them out of speaking publicly about their own rights, their own bodies, and their own lives, unquote. I guess these are the two people, maybe these are the two they're talking about here. In a subsequent tweet, she added, quote, among the thousands of letters and emails I've received are disillusioned members of Labor, the Greens, the Lib Dems, the SNP. Women are scared, outraged, and angry at the deaf ear turned to their well founded concerns. But women are organizing. So, okay, so here's the interesting twist on this. So, you have basically these two quote unquote protected classes, right? You have the women on one side, and you have basically the LGBTQ on the other, or the LGB, LGB or LG on the other. All right. So I wonder how this is going to play out. Talk about eating your own, huh? She concluded the short thread writing, quote, now Kerr Starmer publicly misrepresents equalities law, in yet another indication that the Labor Party can no longer be counted on to defend women's rights. But I repeat, women are organizing across party lines, and their resolve and their anger are growing. In response to this thread, a Twitter user by the name of Johnny Worst wrote, quote, thank you for speaking up so powerfully. It's a tragedy and a scandal that uh, our gay rights organizations are now dedicated to undermining both women's rights and the very foundation of same-sex attraction. Rowling responded to the tweet writing, quote, innumerable gay people have been in touch with me to say exactly this. Like women, they, especially lesbians, are under attack for not wishing to be redefined and for refusing to use ideological language they find offensive. Unquote. Wheeler would respond to this tweet from Rowling, quote, accusing her of, quote, empowering far right forces. No, I don't think she. I don't think what she said is empowering right. If anything, she's talking about people across all ideological lines, left, right, and center. So this guy's, he wrote, quote, you are empowering far right forces that endanger all women and queer people with misleading and hateful rhetoric. It's not too late for you to walk back from the dark path you've found yourself on, unquote. Quote, please listen to the people who are asking you to lead with love, unquote, he added. First off, I don't think anything she said was hateful there. I don't think anything she said was at all hateful. So Wheeler would add, quote, I won't see your responses to this, folks, so why not spend the time you might have used crafting a scathing put down to instead reflect on how the authoritarian right manufactures culture. Oh boy, talk about deflection there. Talk about projection deflection. Oh my god, the far right? No, it's the left, dude. It's people like you, Wheeler. Oh man, what a moron. To divide its opponents, love and light, protect trans kids. Rowling would respond to Wheeler's initial response using a standard meme format of presenting different groups' opinion on a topic. She wrote, quote, far right to little boy wearing a dress, take that off. It means you're not a real man. Oh, gender identity theorist wanting to wear dresses means you're really a girl. Radical feminist. Boys can wear dresses. You look great. Rowling then questioned which of these two positions are most alike, Andrew. Hmm. Um, Oh, I see basically what she was saying here. I get what this is all pointing to. Actually, from the looks of it, it looks more like it's three positions she's presenting, not two. Unless that first one was to kind of be meant more as a dig to him. At least I got another like, so that's cool. It's this tweet that Wheeler claims that Rowling is, quote, playing with my personal safety for rhetorical clout, unquote. He would write on Twitter, quote, I would prepare to give R the benefit of the doubt to believe that she cannot conceive of the scale of the abuse she invites into people's lives, but this is extraordinary. She retweeted someone who tried to link. She retweeted someone who tried to link me um, to the P words, the R words, and misogynist. He then shared a screenshot of Rowling retweeting a user that responded to Wheeler claiming that Rowling was empowering far right forces. The user wrote, quote, I agree the far right must be happy about the left split on gender. OTOH, P words, R words, and misogynist are identifying as queer and coming after women who speak up about their rights. Yeah, I think this also plays into some of what's going on. It could be playing into what's going on with, or some people might think this could be playing into some of what's going on with Damon Mills too. But, quote, and men like this, referring to Wheeler, are joining in which must be a really dark path to find yourself on, unquote, the user added. In a subsequent tweet, he claimed, quote, she's playing with my personal safety for rhetorical clout. She's inviting death threats against me because I asked her to lead with love rather than play in the hands of the far right, unquote. Quote, Ms. Rowling, please look at what comes so easily to you. Look at what you've become, unquote, he pleaded. He concluded in I guess I guess I don't know. He concluded, P.S. When I say the benefit of the doubt, I mean specifically with regards to her use of the quote retweeting to her 14 million followers. Her attitudes in other regards have been beyond any doubt for some time now. This is the person who claimed it was doxing to photograph her house. Actually, well, it's doxing if you post that photographing the house itself is not the doxing part. The doxing part is posting that photograph. Okay, so let's clear that up right now. He would double down on his claim that Rowling is putting his safety at risk, as well as his accusations against Rowling in an email letter. He began the email writing, quote, if you didn't hear, one of the world's most popular authors sent her 14 million Twitter followers after me because I asked her to reconsider her rhetoric on trans issues, unquote. Of course, anytime they don't get a response they want, they play the victim. As clearly noted above, this is a blatant lie. He accused her of empowering far right voices and claimed she was endangering women and queer people. I think that's the author's. Um, Not to stop there with his lies, Wheeler then accused Rowling of contributing, quote, to a pervasive atmosphere of hostility towards trans and queer people that has been weaponized as a culture war by far right politicians. No, I think it's people like you who are doing that, actually, Mr. Wheeler. People like you who are actually doing that. So, ironically, Wheeler then noted that he made sure he didn't see any responses from Rowling's followers. He wrote, quote, I didn't see those responses because I immediately set up filters that blocked them out. But enough friends reached out in concern, and I knew the responses were, let's say, candid and enthusiastic, unquote. Wheeler then makes the absurd claim that quote tweeting someone is inviting abuse, which is bullshit. Excuse my French there. And yes, I can say it too sometimes, but I try not to. He stated, quote, when someone with a lot of followers quote tweets to disagree with someone, they're inviting harassment and abuse towards that person. No, they're not. They're quote tweeting. I'm small fry and I still avoid using quote tweets to dunk on people and with less of a platform than me, unquote. He went on to claim that by quote tweeting someone who noted that, quote, P words, R words, and misogynist are identifying as queer and coming after women who speak up about their rights. Rowling, quote, had invited a threat to my safety that may hang over me for the rest of my life or end it. Unquote. Sounds like the guy's got mental issues there. Maybe he had. I think for all we know, Andrew Reeland, maybe he has some suicidal tendencies, and he wants to blame somebody else for those suicidal tendencies. Could be. He continued, quote, honestly, there are fewer Belgians in the world, and there are people who now might want me dead. Yeah, I think maybe this guy needs to check himself into a mental hospital, I'd say. I don't know if anybody would agree with that, but hey, RJ. Is he really CG, though? I thought he was more adjacent and broke off, do his own thing. Not that it meant. Um, okay, I'm missing who you're possibly. Are you talking about the people at Allegiance Arts? Are you talking about, like, from what this guy was saying, Mitch? From what Mr. Yanafui was saying, Mitch Bruheiser? Or are you talking about the guys who were writing the book we were talking about earlier? Um, Kevin Graveau, um, David Williams, and Gabe. I think Gabe Elteeb is Comics Gate, but um, again, I'm just wondering who you're kind of talking about there, RJ. If you're even still here. Yeah. Hey, action. Good evening, RJ, Yono, Mike. I hope you're all good doing. Yeah, kind of missed earlier. I was actually talked about Scott Hall earlier. I did actual wrestling news first. I'm going through some comic stories now. But I did talk about Scott Hall earlier and did some wrestling recap earlier. So we're going through the comic stories right now. Okay, so anyways, let's see. And as always, if you guys haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. All right, so continuing on with the right now, of course, we're going over this article, this little spat between J.K. Rowling and Andrew Wheeler. So, Wheeler then accused Rowling of harming trans kids. He wrote, quote, anti-trans rhetoric hurts vulnerable populations, especially trans kids. It encourages the kind of hateful legislation that we're seeing sweep in the U.S. It destroys lives. It racks up a body count, unquote. He concluded his email, quote, I'm just collateral damage. The author wasn't thinking about my safety when she quote tweeted me, just as she isn't thinking about trans kids when she elevates the boogeyman rhetoric that hurts trans queer people for almost a century. Has hurt. She doesn't seem to understand the power of her words. Maybe she does. What do you think? What do you make of Wheeler's accusations against Rowling that by simply quote tweeting him and retweeting another response to him that is putting his he's trying to play the victim. He's not getting his way in his art in the argument, so he's playing the victim. He's not winning. He doesn't feel he's winning the argument, and getting her to change her viewpoint. So he's playing the victim, as many people in that situation do. Anytime you say something like that, yeah. Are you still watching the? Anyways. All right, so let's see now. Okay, so now we're gonna get on to the last article we're gonna go over tonight here. An hour 16. So we basically all right, so this is just covering now normally I wouldn't cover rumors, but this one does seem to be a bit more relevant. Rumor: Marvel Comics Vice President Sana Amanat fired. Article by John F. Trent, published earlier today. A relatively recent rumor claims that Marvel Comics Vice President of Content and Character Development, Sana Amanat, has been fired from the company. And there she is right there, I guess. The rumor first surfaced back in December 2021 when YouTuber Az of Heels vs. Babyface took to Twitter to ask, quote, "Hey Marvel, could you please either confirm or deny the rumor that Sana Amanat was recently or still is suspended from work due to quote unquote misconduct or something similar charges, unquote." He recently followed up on the idea in a recent tweet over the weekend asking, quote, "Marvel, is there any truth to the rumor that Sana Amanat um, has or is in the process of leaving or being fired from the company," unquote. Let's see. You know, yeah, but I see the numbers, you know, how I can get sometimes. With that, so. Oh, okay. All right. So, anyways, as we continue on with the article here, former DC Comics artist and the creator of Cyberfrog, Ethan Van Sciver, added credence to the rumor. He first tweeted, quote, "As has a rumor that Sana Amanat has been fired from Marvel for," in smaller quotes, "sexual impropriety with two male employees." Hmm. Yeah, interesting now how it's a woman being accused now instead of a man. That's where this goes. He added, "Rich Johnston, my guess is that this is BS because if it was true and some bald British YouTuber got it before Bleeding Cool." Oh boy, the gif of moist. Now, just in case you guys don't know what that picture's from, it's from an old game show called Password. That's where that picture's probably from. It's uh from an old game show, probably from the 50s, 60s version of the show. There have been a few others have come out since, but in a separate tweet, Van Sciver claimed, quote, "More confirmation was coming in regarding the rumor," quote unquote. He wrote, quote, "Hey, Bleeding Cool and Rich Johnson, more confirmation is coming in about Sana Eminent allegedly losing her job at Marvel for sexually harassing Disney employees. Will you investigate?" Unquote. And then Ethan calls himself the Human Sunbeam on Twitter. In reply to a user question as a source on his first tweet, Van Sciver claimed he had a second source. He wrote, quote, "Yeah, I got a second better source. I didn't believe it, as could be just a rumor, but um, he would also indicate that he is taking the rumor with a grain of salt, writing on Twitter, albeit he added more information to the rumor. Van Sciver tweeted, quote, I'm hearing Marvel is trying to parachute her her out quietly without embarrassment. Oh boy. Yeah, well, if enough people caught wind of it, people are talking about it now. You got Bounding into Comics, you got Bleeding Cool, you got Ethan and Skyver, you got Has, you got Heel versus Babyface. People all talking about it. And I'm even talking about it. So, uh, dude, me too. I'm hearing Marvel is trying to parachute her out quite. More recently, Van Sciver tweeted that, quote, Sana Amanat is allegedly being fired from Marvel. As noted by Clownfish TV, another group that's talking about it. Amanat has not updated her Twitter account since December 2021, when asked from Heel vs. Babyface, originally questioned whether or not Amanat had been suspended at Marvel Comics. Amanat's last tweet was an update on Marvel Studios' Ms. Marvel television series. She wrote on November 12th, 2021, been working hard with an incredible team to bring this show to life. The pressure and responsibility we all feel is intense. The love we have is immense. Praying we can make you all proud. Um, that's supposedly her last. But you'd almost have to be even. I mean, unless that's her official Marvel account or something like that, you almost have to be even more concerned. If that's her personal account, you should really be concerned. She hasn't posted anything since November. Has she just completely gone off? You would think that that was her personal account. She'd be like putting stuff out in there to make sure everybody knows that she's okay, at least. You know. Turn your view counter off. It's wrecking the flow of the show. Well, not too much. It's when I can get more people in here more often. That's that will help. Anyways, she did retweet Marvel Comics author Samira Ahmed's announcement that her Ms. Marvel Beyond the Limit #1 issue came out. Ahmed's tweet was posted on December 22nd, 2021. So Amanat's retweet occurred either on that day or sometime after. Um, Clownfish's Neon um, speculates that Amanat might be getting removed from the company, similar to former editor in chief Axel Alonso. He explained, quote, I'd heard from people in Disney Publishing that, in brackets, Axel Alonso, was given an ultimatum. When he got gone, they didn't make a big deal about it. They just kind of pushed him out the door, and then he had to sign papers that he wasn't going to talk, unquote. Neon elaborated, quote, I've been in situations like this at companies I've worked at where they bought out executives and like you get your salary for the rest of the year and you get 2 years severance or whatever. The deal is, but you have to shut your mouth. YouTuber Thinking Critical claims that the alleged misconduct that Amanat is accused of had been happening for over a year and a half. He stated, quote, I'd actually heard about these allegations that have been placed against Sana Amanat quite a long time ago. I think this has been going on for I think a year and a half now. That she's been in a bit of hot water, not just with Marvel Comics, but really with Disney. There were HR complaints, unquote. Let's see. Anyways, okay, so continuing on here. Regarding the nature of the allegations against Amanat, he explained, quote, sounded like, from my perspective, as somebody that was a leader in the military, um, has also worked with other folks in leadership positions. I would call it an unprofessional work relationship or unprofessional behavior in the workplace. Something along those lines. Thinking Critical then claims she has indeed been fired, stating, quote, it appears that this finally came out maybe as late as last week. Maybe it was a little bit earlier that than that. Um, but it's very recent that this finally came out, and the judgment, if you want to call it that, about the future work status of Santa Amanat at Marvel Comics actually came down. He added, quote, you will not get a confirmation out of Marvel Comics or Disney. They don't really do that. A lot of ties when they let people go, you actually never hear a peep of it. Yeah, a lot of time, well, a lot of companies do that. But a lot of people do things very quietly. Despite this claim, Amanat's Twitter account still claims she is working at Marvel. Um, Her LinkedIn profile also shows her still working for Marvel. What do you make of this rumor? Well, it could be, but there's no concrete proof. So until we hear otherwise, that's all it is, a rumor. Anyway, so that's all of the articles for tonight. And a recap of, since I know people came in late here, a recap of a story I did earlier. Um, just in case you didn't hear, Scott Scott Hall was put on life support yesterday, taken off today. Um, so a quick recap of the situation with Scott Hall. Last week at his home, he took a fall, broke his hip, went went to the hospital to have you know surgery on the hip. while he's been recovering. There was a blood clot that got loose. He ended up suffering 3 heart attacks. Yet yesterday he was placed on life support, and then earlier, this morning, Kevin Nash on his Instagram had stated that once his family got there, he'd be taken off of life support. Um, he has since been taken off life support, and as of as of you know as of right now, as far as I know, as of to this point, as I said earlier, now at 7:32 Pacific time here, 10:32 Eastern. Scott Hall it seems to be starting to recover a bit. He was taking off life support and seems to be doing better. So I'll of course, do a follow up on that story once, you know, once we hear news of whether or not he's recovering or if he does pass on. I'll do a follow up when we have more information there. So with that, let me just remind everybody, of course, this Friday we'll be doing our weekly historical comic retrospect. We'll be continuing our look back to November 19th. Hey, Leto! He's dead. I'm in bed listening. What did somebody just announce that he passed away, Leto? Where did you hear that he died? Because when I was watching WrestleMania earlier today, the last I had heard, he had actually, when he was taking off life support. Yeah, they announced. Yeah, because I haven't seen any announcement on that. Last I heard, which came from, last I heard, he was still, he was recovering. They actually were saying he did better. But let's see if we can find something here on that. Did it say that? Do we have any sources that say that he actually? Okay, yeah. Well, apparently it's been updated on Wikipedia. So, granted, take that for all it's worth. But let's see. Yeah. So okay. So as of now, then we do have confirmation that Scott Hall has passed away. He was 63 years old. I went through, um, okay, Twitter, WWE. Yeah, I just looked it up on Wikipedia too, Leto. So they have confirmed that he did, in fact, pass away. So I was just going on that based on what I had known at the time there. Let's see. WWE is saddened to learn that two times. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, okay. So we do now have confirmation that he's passed away. Do have confirmation now that he has indeed passed away. Of course, I basically gave a brief overview of his career earlier. Yeah. R.I.P. Scott Hall. Flicks toothpick, screen, and remembrance. Yep. Yeah. So since you guys did, and you can always go back and see what I said about him earlier. But to kind of recap a little bit, what I said earlier, Scott Hall, of course, well-known professional wrestler. His career started back in the mid '80s. Started out as actually one half of a tag team known as American Starship, with Dan Spivey in the NWA territories. Went to one of his first big exposures was actually in the AWA as he and Kurt Hennig would win the AWA World Tag Team Championship in 1986 from Jimmy Garvin and Steve Regal, not Lord Steve Regal, Lord Steven Regal, Steve Regal. Yeah, anyways, then of course he had a brief return to the NWA in '89. Then was in Puerto Rico until '91, and then for 91, 92, that was his third stint in basically NWA/WCW, where he was a Diamond Stud under the management of Diamond Dallas Page. From 92 to 96, he was went to WWF, where he was Razor Ramon, won 4 Intercontinental Championships during that run, as well as having the memorable ladder match with Shawn Michaels. From 96 to 2000, he was 96 to 2001. He was with WCW. He and Kevin Nash went there as the outsiders, started up the heel faction, the NWO, which led, of course, his times as both Razor Ramon singles, where he was a 2-time WWE inductee, having been inducted in 2014 as a singles and as part of the NWO in 2020. So, yeah. So, anyways, Scott Hall would have some runs in TNA Impact as well. But yes, so we can now officially say that Scott Hall, also known as Razor Ramon, the bad guy, passed away at the age of 63 earlier today. Let's go ahead and do a moment of silence for the man. Starting now. Okay. That being done, with that being done and said, another reminder to everybody that this Friday, Batcode and I will, of course, be back together for our weekly historical comic retrospect, continuing our coverage of November 1938. We'll be looking at the comics that went on sale from Centaur Comics. Doing some summary work from, of course, talking probably looking at Skyrocket Steel from Amazing Mystery Stories. Number four, just won't be reading the actual book. Unfortunately, it's not available. Also, we'll be looking at Jumbo Comics Volume 1, Number 4 from Fiction House, featuring, of course, Sheena of the Jungle, Gilda Gay, the Modern Girl, and the Dr. Hayward, the Weird Stories of Supernatural Secret Diary of Dr. Hayward. Okay. Here that Damon Mills victim retracted his Leto's been streaming my did I hear that no, I hadn't heard that. I know there was a lot of people talking about the accusations themselves over the weekend, but yeah, I just read that. He was bullied into that. Well, even when he first came out, though, even when he first came out and said that, he said he wasn't interested in pressing charges. He just wanted Damon to quote unquote get help. But yeah, I'm sure if it does feel like he was bullied into making the retraction, I'm sure like Yellow Flash and a few of the other guys will be mentioning that. But I guess we'll just wait and see as the story. But then again, in a way, you could say that because apparently, Damon. If you guys remember too, Damon did actually threaten legal action against him. He sent him like a cease and desist order. So, hey there, little Damon Mills would have been the perfect choice to voice Bullet in an English anime of redo of Healer. But yeah. So, anyways, I'm sure if that did come out that he retracted that his accuser retracted his statement, I'm sure we'll be hearing about it from Nick, Yellow Flash, Tug, and the rest of them. So, let's just, healing. Anyways, all right. So, anyways, if that story in regards to the retraction does show up on either Bounding into Comics or CBR, I'll probably be going over the article as well. But if you guys don't mind, tell me where did you read? Do you guys remember where you actually read that the accuser had retracted his statement? How about that? I bet someone tossed money. Oh, ANN. All right. And again, I'm sure. Then I'll probably look into it a little bit, but guess we'll wait and see. It's all over Twitter and ANN. Yeah. Well, you have to remember too when he first came out with the accusations, it was actually revealed that almost immediately Damon had threatened him with legal action too. Damon through his lawyers had sent him a cease and desist order, and but the problem is, he didn't have much recourse unless he was planning on filing charges against Damon. That was the thing. Since he had stated he wasn't going to file charges against Damon, another reason why subs over dubs. Yeah. Well, granted, Funimation, the majority, you have that group of people at Funimation and some of the LA voice actors as well who are trash, but not all of them are trash like that. And I know people are saying even those who aren't involved in this directly, the fact that they didn't speak up more about this stuff makes them partially guilty. What you guys have to understand is that you know there are people there who are in more compromised positions. They couldn't necessarily speak up about this kind of garbage because if they did, then they would be losing their jobs. So keep that in mind before you damn all of them. Anyways, we're at an hour 46 now, so I think it's a good time to start wrapping up a bit here. I already hit everything, and I guess we'll wait to see what more comes out of the whole thing with the Damon Mills story too, um, as you know, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with you guys that the kid was probably bullied into retracting his statement. But anyways, guys, I okay. Well, let's start wrapping this up. Let's go ahead and finish it out with this day in niche history. History. Anyways, today being Monday, March 14th. Um, cuties or Tesla? Hard choices. Anyways, what's cutlet? Oh, cutlass. I'm sorry, I thought it was cuties. But anyways, so today being Monday, March 14th, 2022, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in each history. History. And on this day in each history, first off, we head back to 1952 as on this date in 1952, the 35th issue of Black Diamond Western went on sale on this date from Lev Gleason Publishing. Cover price of 10 cents, 32 pages. Obviously, a Western themed comic book. So with that, on this date, 70 years ago today, Black Diamond Western went on sale on this date. Let's go ahead and one more piece of niche history today. As on this date back in 1992, which is 30 years ago today, the cartoon series Capital Critters would finish its run on ABC Saturday morning. So, so on this date in 1992, the animated series from Hanna-Barbera and Stephen Bochco Productions, Capital Critters, would air its final episode, its final premiere episode on this date in 1992, as it would eventually be rebroadcast on Cartoon Network years later. So it's not a bad car. Let's see, 19. All right. So, anyways, guys, I thank you guys for being here. I thank you guys for the likes and shares. Help get the word out. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Bye.